गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। Om. So today is Sugama day. So in Adhyasa, Purvapakshi says Adhyasa is not there. Therefore, Jnana is not required. Vedanta Vichara is unnecessary. It doesn't solve the problem of samsara. Because if Adhyasa were the problem means Adhyasa was the cause of the samsara, then Vedanta Vichara would be enough. But problem itself is not due to Adhyasa, because Adhyasa is not possible. Why? What is possible? Don't you accept Adhyasa as a phenomena at all? He says no, Adhyasa is there. A phenomenon called Adhyasa exists in the world, but in the Atma that Adhyasa is not there. See, he says Adhyasa itself he doesn't reject. He accepts Adhyasa, but that Adhyasa is not between Atma and Anatma because Atma and Anatma are opposite to each other in their nature. In their very nature, they are opposite to each other. So one cannot be mistaken for the other. Because we find all Adhyasas in life, all misunderstandings, all superimpositions in life are found between one object and another object. One object can be mistaken for another, but here they are opposite nature, hence impossible. Siddhanti told, assuming your condition that Adhyasa requires objecthood, that Atma needs to become an object to be able to be mistaken, to be able to superimposed. Okay, so you wanted that condition. Yes, that condition is there. Atma is an object, but Atma is an object of I thought. Atma becomes an object of I thought, not in its real nature. In its real nature, it is an object of no thought. It is beyond all thoughts and self-shining. Yet it becomes an object of I thought only during Adhyasa for sake of Adhyasa. Only during Adhyasa, only for sake of Adhyasa. Okay. Only during Adhyasa and just for the purpose of Adhyasa. Therefore, my stand that Atma in its real nature is an object of no thought stands, and the requirement of your condition also is fulfilled, and my stand that Atma in its real nature is an object of no thought, but you wanted Atma should be an object of some thought. For sake of Adhyasa, both are fulfilled. Okay, both are true, and that it becomes an object of I thought, and Adhyasa takes place. Now the next question, between these two, Atma becoming an object of I thought, and again Adhyasa taking place, between these two, which is before and which is later? Here Siddhanti told, No, don't put like that. Which is before, which is later, because they are both are simultaneous. Because in the wake of Adhyasa, you find Atma becoming an object of I thought and then Adhyasa forming. Okay. Atma becoming an I thought and that I thought being imposed on Anatma and Anatma imposed on Atma. There is no time gap between these two, because both are simultaneously found in our life. Because the time itself is a part of Adhyasa, therefore don't expect one of these two should happen before and another later. Therefore, Yugapat, he gave an example of Maya Nirmita Dhenu. Like in dream, when you see a cow and a calf in dream, cow is senior, calf is junior in age. But in dream, you see them simultaneously. Okay. Within the dream, you consider cow as a senior and calf is junior. But dream as a whole, when you take, all of them are just simultaneous. Similarly, Yugapadeva Ubhayorapi Pratibhasa Sambhavat. Yada khalu adhyasaha tada atmanyadhyasa vishayata. Anatma adhyasa sambandhascha. See, Atmani adhyasa vishayata. Atma becoming an object of I thought and Anatma sambandha. And at the same time you see Anatma. See, when you find I thought, Atma appearing as an object of I thought, and that I thought being a subject, it gets connected with you thought. It gets connected to the Anatma. Okay? Atma Atma is an object of I thought and also finding an Anatma with it. Both are simultaneous. Okay. So here in Adhyasa, not only Aham Buddhi, I thought is Adhyasa, along with the I thought, the connected rest of the world. Okay, the I thought cannot exist independently without being connected to the you thought, that is the world. Do you ever see only the I thought without the you thought? That means, do you ever find a subject without object being there, or an object without a subject knowing it? We don't find. The subject and object are like two sides of a same paper, isn't it? Of the same paper, two aspects, two faces of the same paper. They can't be separated. They can't be separated one from the other. In fact, calling them two is wrong. They are one block. This is also a difference from Mula Vidyavadis. Mula Vidyavadis say only Aham Pratyaya is Adhyasa, Anatma is not. They say the world is not Adhyasa. They say like this: there is a Maya or Mula Vidya in Brahman. They say there is Mula Vidya in Brahman. Why it is there? It is just there like that, Anadi. Why it is there? It is inexplicable. Why Mula Vidya is there Brahman with Brahman? Nobody can explain. It is just there with him. But Brahman, you say Brahman is pure consciousness. How can there be Mula Vidya in Brahman? Accepting avidya in Brahman is like telling that there is darkness in the light. How can there be darkness in light? They say Brahman, who is pure consciousness, is not opposed to avidya. That means avidya and pure consciousness of Brahman can go together, not at all a problem. They live comfortably with each other, they get along well. That means light and darkness can coexist. This is an important point we should remember. Mula Vidyavadins say that light and darkness can coexist. Why can they do exist? No problem. Without cancelling each other, both of them coexist. This is a very strange thing against facts of life, that darkness and light can coexist is just unacceptable. Okay, but for them nothing is wrong in it. It's very convenient to them. So pure consciousness is, because it is Swatah Siddham, this everybody accepts, because consciousness is independent, self-shining and self-existing. But why should there be avidya in him? They say avidya is there, which is like a darkness, is always with him. But how does avidya exist in him? It is inexplicable. No logic works there. Nobody can explain. You have to accept it, because it is inexplicable. Anyway, so we are only listening to their prakriya. Don't dispute it, first listen. Okay, so there is avidya with Brahman. Inexplicably it is there with him, and with the help of that avidya he creates the world. In that there are Panchabhutas. From the Panchabhutas there is a body, there is Anatma, isn't it? And that Anatma, you do adhyasa upon the Atma. So before adhyasa, see what they say? Before adhyasa there is Anatma. This is a very surprising, probably to you it must be surprising. There is Anatma before adhyasa, and that Anatma is superimposed upon the Atma. So they take, but so this point is important, we have to discuss. That's why I'm touching here. Though Swamiji has not stated it so detailed, one word he touched it, I am elaborating it. Swamiji himself stated elsewhere, but here only just one word he touched. Bhashyakara says Atmanatmanor itaretara adhyasa, a mutual superimposition of Atma and Anatma and their properties. Atma, mutual superimposition between Atma and Anatma as entities, and their transferring of mutual properties also. Atma's property, consciousness, appears in Anatma, and Anatma's property of being an object of consciousness. Anatma's property is being an object of consciousness is found with the Atma. Being an object of consciousness gets transferred to Atma. Atma looks like an object of consciousness. Like this, there is a mutual adhyasa between Atma and Anatma. Seeing this statement of Bhashya, they say before adhyasa there is Anatma. See, before first thing they say adhyasa is an event that takes place. This is also not stated in Bhashya, not according to Bhashya. Bhashyakara says adhyasa is anadi, you find in your life, that's all. Anubhava siddham, Bhashyakara says anubhava siddham is adhyasa. But they say, Mulavidyavadins, adhyasa is an event that takes place. It is an occurrence. Now, that adhyasa requires Atma, Anatma, two elements. And how does that Anatma come? Anatma is produced by Mula Vidya. Mula Vidya exists with Brahman. Though Brahman himself is pure consciousness, still Avidya can exist with him. What is the justification? Then they try to give you all kinds of logic. One is, as I already told you, consciousness is not opposite to avidya. I don't know where they discovered, how did they arrive at this thing? Consciousness is not opposite to. Consciousness is not opposite to avidya. Therefore, avidya coexists with consciousness. This is a very strange idea they came up with. And that avidya produces anatma, and anatma is superimposed on the atma as an event, as an occurrence. But this one doesn't find any support in the Bhashya, and it is illogical. It is against experience, because nobody can think of, as a consciousness can never think of avidya. Consciousness can never, a light can never see darkness. Okay? Can light see darkness ever? So, this itself is illogical, against experience, against Bhashya. This we have stated before, briefly. Now proceed. Now, what I mean to say at the moment is, not only aham pratyaya vishayata, the I thought, not only the I thought is an adhyasa, not only the body, mind and sense organs are adhyasta upon the Atma, along with the body, mind and sense organs, the entire world is adhyasa. Okay? The entire state is adhyasa. This is an important point. Bhashyakara says, Atmanatmanor itaretara adhyasa. Entire anatma, a part of anatma like body, mind and sense organs are taken for the subject side. That means they are imposed upon the I thought. There is an I thought imposed upon the body, mind and sense organs. And the rest of anatma is taken as a yushmat pratyaya vishaya, as an object of you thought. That as an object of you thought is also adhyasa. Entire world is adhyasa, because object of you thought, object of I thought are not separate. I thought, you thought, both are only a thought. Okay. Whether an object of I thought, object of you thought, both are simply thought. The thought itself is adhyasa upon the consciousness. Okay. Therefore, Shankaracharya in his Adhyasa Bhashya means to say that the Adhyasa is the entire world. Yushmat Pratyaya Vishaya is also Adhyasa. That means the entire Anatma is Adhyasta. Entire Anatma is Adhyasa upon the consciousness. And Aham Pratyaya Vishayata is Adhyasa. Therefore, Swamiji is telling here, Tada Atmanyadhyasa Vishayata, Atma as an object of Adhyasa, and Anatma is found. In the wake of Adhyasa alone is Anatma found. Anatma is not found outside Adhyasa, before Adhyasa, or later Adhyasa. See, note this point. This is the difference between Mula Vidyavadins and then Swamiji. Anatma doesn't exist before Adhyasa. Okay? Anatma is not outside Adhyasa, nor before Adhyasa, nor after Adhyasa. Okay? Anatma is not after Adhyasa. Anatma is not before Adhyasa. Anatma during Adhyasa also is not outside Adhyasa. They say Anatma is before Adhyasa. During Adhyasa also a part of Anatma is outside Adhyasa. And again, after Jnanam takes place, after Adhyasa goes away, still Anatma remains. Anatma remains outside Adhyasa. This shows clearly the Sankhya's Prakriya is adopted, slightly modified to suit Vedanta. It is a Sankhya's Prakriya, you can see very clearly. Sankhya's Prakriya, that Prakriti is independent and always parallelly existing with Brahman. Sankhya's say, see, note this point. Sankhya's say Prakriti, Trigunatmika Prakriti is parallelly existing with Brahman. And there is an Adhyasa, Prakriti creates Prapancha. Okay, Prakriti creates Prapancha. In that it creates Anatma like body, mind and sense organ. Atma identifies with it. Then with Jnanam and Dhyanam, Anatma gets separated. After separated, you become independent. Atma becomes independent of Anatma, and Anatma continues to be there, though it doesn't affect the Atma. This is Sankhya's Prakriya. In these things, you can see Prakriti or Anatma exists before Adhyasa. Even during Adhyasa, only a part of Anatma is imposed on the Atma. Okay, a part of Anatma is imposed on the Atma, and another part remains outside Adhyasa. Okay. Then after Jnanam, Adhyasa goes away, still Anatma remains. See, it is a clearly Sankhya Prakriya. They have just adopted into Vedanta. That is really creating a confusion. Therefore, here we have to say, there is no Anatma before Adhyasa. Anatma appears in the wake of Adhyasa. That means only within Adhyasa you see the Anatma. Now, Anatma appearing and superimposing upon the Atma, they are not two things. This is a special Prakriya of Shankara. Okay? That's why whenever a certain specific point is there, we touch this thing. Anatma appearing and it is superimposed on the Atma are not two separate entities. They are not two separate things. Anatma appearing and superimposing on the Atma, both are just one, simultaneous. Isn't it? Because once you remove its superimposition from the Atma, then Anatma ceases to exist. Like, I'll give you example of rope and snake. Snake appears only when you mistake the rope for snake. Only when you mistake the rope for snake. During the mistake, during Adhyasa, during Brahma, snake appears. The appearance of snake only within the Adhyasa. Before misunderstanding, before Brahma, there was no snake. Even during Brahma, snake doesn't exist outside Brahma. And after it is falsified, after the Rajju is understood, snake has no existence other than Rajju. In fact, snake has no existence even when it is appearing. Snake has no existence apart from the rope, even when it is appearing in the rope. Okay, even during Adhyasa, the snake doesn't exist. It only appears. Brahma matram snake. During Brahma, don't bring that there is a snake during Brahma. This is one more mistake of Mula Vidyavadins. During Brahma, they say snake exists during Brahma. After Brahma goes away, snake goes away. This is also wrong. Because snake doesn't exist. It is only rope that is seen wrongly as a snake. Seen means only perceived. Perception means only a thought. Only a Brahma Pratyaya. Perception means Brahma, means Bhranti Pratyaya. Bhranti Pratyaya. Snake is only a Bhranti Pratyaya. Snake is only a perception, not an entity. Okay? Snake is only a perception. A Bhranti Pratyaya. Therefore, snake pratyaya, when you are under the misunderstanding, there is only rope. I generally give this example. When the aeroplane is flying in the sky, a person standing on the earth from here looks at it. He sees the aeroplane of a small size of a bird like this. He sees the plane of a small size of a bird like this. Now, this smallness of the plane which you see, is it only your perception, or tentatively the plane assumes a small size? Does it assume a small shape tentatively when you are looking from the earth and it is flying in the sky? I give this example. Once it happened that a person told that, oh, seeing the time, morning 10 o'clock, and he says, yeah, this is the plane. I came by from Delhi 2 days ago. He says 2 days ago, I came by this same plane, 10 o'clock plane from Delhi to Bangalore. This person who has never boarded a plane, he asks, how you traveled by this plane, which is so small of this size, 1 foot. This 1 foot plane, did you board? Yes, he says, I boarded this. Then he says, okay, I believe you that you boarded it, but I have one doubt to ask. When the plane is such as one foot alone, how can you travel? I can't accept, I can't believe this thing. You know what he answered? See, it is quite big when it comes down. When it comes down to the earth, when it lands on the earth, it is a huge one. Around 200 to 250 people can sit in a Boeing plane. 250, longer than our bus. 2 to 3 times longer than our bus. So people can sit comfortably in that. Even wider than bus, longer and wider than bus. Then again he says, my doubt is not yet gone. You say the plane is quite big on the earth. Okay, I accept it. Then you have boarded it. When it was on the earth, it was big enough, you boarded it. But now my question is, when it went up, it became small. When it became small, how were you? Did you also become very small, like a small ant, red ant? Small red ant. Have you also become small like that? How did you, what did you become when it became so small in the sky? What would he answer? He laughs at. He says, it never becomes small. That fellow says that, don't lie. I'm seeing it so small. I'm seeing it. You're talking against my experience. See, if you want, you see it now, how small it is. You can't lie like that regarding what is evident to everybody. It is so small, everybody sees 1 foot. He says it is not 1 foot. It is, if you want, I can show you. When it comes to the ground, it becomes big. Oh, he says, okay, I understand. It becomes big when it is on the ground. It becomes small when it goes into the sky. Oh, do you mean this? It becomes small when it goes into the sky, and again when it comes down to it becomes again expand. Oh, this plane has got an expansive and contracting capacity. When it goes into the sky, it contracts, becomes a small one, and comes to the earth. He says, no, it is same size. The other person says, who traveled by plane, is a city man, and this other fellow like me as a villager. Okay. And he says, it doesn't expand. Oh, it doesn't expand and contract. It is always of the same size. But I see it is a small. What do you say? That person says, whether on the ground or whether in the sky, it is of the same size. It doesn't reduce its size. It is always of the same size. But I am seeing small. Then there is a defect in your seeing. Your perception sees it as a small. In spite of the plane being the same like before. The plane remains self-same, no change in its size. Even now when you are seeing small, it is big enough. Even while you are seeing it as a small, the plane itself is not what you see. Okay? The plane is not as small as you perceive. Smallness is your perception. Its reality, it is quite big. Now tell me, where is the smallness? Where is the smallness? 1 foot plane. 1 foot plane is only your perception. This is what we mean by adhyasa. Okay? Adhyasa is perception. You see the plane, that the small plane is only your perception, not there on the plane. The plane on itself doesn't know that you are seeing it as a small. Your smallness which you see is purely your perception. Plane is innocent of it. It doesn't know. It just doesn't know. Similarly, rope doesn't know the snake which you are seeing it. Your snake is also included in the rope. So rope doesn't become snake for a short while. Okay? No while. It is throughout rope alone. Even when you are seeing the snake, it is rope only. Similarly, even when you are seeing an Atma, Atma remains Atma. There is no Anatma. There is no such thing called Anatma. That's why Bhashyakara says, Satyanrute mithuni kritya. Satyanrute mithuni kritya. The adhyasa involves, one is a Satyam Atma and Anrutam Anatma. What is Anrutam? Mithya Bhuta Anatma. Anatma is a misunderstanding alone. There is no Anatma outside adhyasa, outside perception, misperception. outside misperception, Anatma has no existence. Because even while you are perceiving, Atma remains non-dual. Therefore, what constitutes Adhyasa? The entire Pramata, Pramanam, Prameyam, the entire Avastha, Jagrata Avastha, the complete waking state. So the entire Adhyasa, that means anything other than Brahman, everything other than Brahman is Sarvopi Abrahma Pratyayaha Avidya Matram. See Bhashyakara statement. Sarvopi Abrahma Pratyayaha. This one statement explains everything of Adhyasa Bhashya. This statement find elsewhere in, I think, Sutra Bhashya. Yeah, in Sutra Bhashya, Brihadaranyaka Bhashya also he says the same thing. Sarvopi Abrahma Pratyayaha is Avidya Matram. Anything other than Brahma, entire Anatma is only Avidya. And that is Pratyaya Matram. See, note the point. The word Pratyaya which Bhashyakara uses. Sarvopi Abrahma, Sarvamapi Abrahma, Avidya Matram, Avidya Abrahma Pratyayaha. Sarvopi Abrahma Pratyayaha, Avidya Matram. Therefore, Anatma cannot exist outside Adhyasa. It is only the misperception you are called. Therefore, Aham Pratyaya, Yushmat Pratyaya, both are Avidya only, Adhyasa only. This is the most important. That's why we are studying Sugama. Otherwise, we could have studied any other book. Sugama's special explanation is this. Therefore, in Aham Pratyaya Vishaya, Atma appearing as an Aham Pratyaya Vishaya, object of I thought, and instantly Anatma is also associated with it. Okay? Anatma involved in it and Atma assuming because bare Aham Pratyaya without Anatma can't exist. Bare Aham Pratyaya without Anatma element in it, no Aham Pratyaya can exist. There also don't put a sequence. Okay? Atma becomes Aham Pratyaya. They say like this. Atma becomes Aham Pratyaya. Then Aham Pratyaya as a second step is imposed upon the body, mind and sense organs. Now, is there a sequence between these two? Is there a gap? First there is an Aham Pratyaya, bare Aham Pratyaya. Then second step is it is imposed upon the body, mind and sense organs. Oh, how can there be a bare Aham Pratyaya without body, mind and sense organs? Do you see that? It's a very strange, they say. There is a bare Aham Pratyaya and then Anatma comes at a later stage because there is no time gap. And how can there be Pratyaya? Pratyaya itself means mind. They say the all Maya Pratyaya, all that anyway. If you have studied it, you would know it. Anyway, I studied all that Mula Vidya, that's different. So anyway, I don't want to go into details so that unnecessarily I'll be confusing. So what is enough as a contrast, only I touch that. If you go more into detail, that's a separate subject you have to study. So, Aham Pratyaya, there can't be bare Aham Pratyaya without any Anatma. Therefore, Atma assuming Aham Pratyaya, assuming means appearing as an Aham Pratyaya, and also instantly means simultaneously, Anatma is also involved in it. That means, without the Anatma associating with the Atma, Aham Pratyaya can't arise. Okay? No Aham Pratyaya can arise without Anatma also being involved in it. That means Atma, Anatma mixing up alone brings about Aham Pratyaya Vishaya. Therefore, Adhyasa of Atma, Anatma and also Aham Pratyaya, both are simultaneous. In fact, why simultaneous? Aham Pratyaya itself is Adhyasa. In other words, Atma appearing through Aham Pratyaya itself is an Adhyasa because Anatma is already involved in it. Therefore, this is very interesting and important, because how you present, how you define the problem, that makes it convenient for eliminating the problem. If the diagnosis is good, you go to your doctor. If diagnosis is very correct and accurate, I tell you, treatment becomes very easy and your healing is fast, very, very fast. Therefore, adhyasa we discuss here not to show that there is an adhyasa, that you note it. We are not trying to prove adhyasa. We are not trying to prove adhyasa, nor explain adhyasa, nor defend adhyasa. Though we use a lot of arguments, how it is there. Purva Pakshi says there is no adhyasa. Purva Pakshi says there is no adhyasa. We try to defend adhyasa. All this only means we are pointing out adhyasa that is in our anubhava. This you note it. The purpose of entire adhyasa bhashya is not to justify, defend and prove adhyasa against Purva Pakshi, who continuously denies the very presence of adhyasa. Purva Pakshi continuously denies there is no adhyasa, there is no adhyasa, there is no adhyasa. Okay, so adhyasa is we are not proving it because it doesn't need to be proven. It cannot be proven and you don't need to prove it. Because if you go to doctor only diagnoses the disease, doesn't create a disease in order to treat you. Okay? Doctor doesn't create a disease in order to treat you, in order to treat it. If it is there, he just looks at it, diagnoses it, pinpoints it, then start treatment. Similarly, Purva Pakshi, since Purva Pakshi denies it, we only have to use certain arguments to point out how it is already there in your anubhava. So we are not establishing, we are not proving, we are not defending. Though our arguments, way of talking looks as if we are trying to establish adhyasa. This is most important. So we are only defining, let us say, we are only defining, demarcating adhyasa rather than establishing, proving and defending. Okay, the language looks like that, but it only means we are only pointing out, defining and demarcating. See, this is what it is. That's all. Pointing out, defining, demarcating. Not establishing, proving and defending logically that how adhyasa is there, how adhyasa is possible. Because adhyasa is not pramana siddha. No shastra proves, neither bhashya nor Upanishad goes to prove adhyasa. Unlike the Mula Vidyavadins, they think that Shruti proves the adhyasa, Anumana Pramana proves the adhyasa, and Arthapatti proves adhyasa. Then some Vyakhyanakara proves adhyasa. Okay. Then Laukika Drishtanta proves adhyasa. No proof is required and no proof is possible. All proofs, all arguments presuppose adhyasa. Okay? Because even before you speak, trying to defend adhyasa, the one who defends is already a part of adhyasa, is already adhyasta. Therefore, you can only point out, you can only define, okay, you can only demarcate, that's all. And adhyasa itself is a vidya. It is not a pramana siddha. It is only anubhava siddha. That means siddha doesn't mean established. See, the siddha word in Sanskrit means established. Established doesn't mean by logic, by proving and defending all. Siddha means you find it, you are only pointing out. That's all. Therefore, adhyasa is anubhava siddha. And with presupposing adhyasa pramana, this sentence is going to come. Bhashakara is going to say adhyasam puraskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavaharaha. Even the pramatrutvam in the wake of adhyasa. Pramatrutvam pramana, not only pramatrutvam pramana. You know what they say, Mula Vidyavadins? Pramatrutvam is due to adhyasa. Pramanas are, in a way they accept it. Pramanas are adhyasa, they accept partly. Pramatrutvam, they accept adhyasa. Pramanas, they accept partly as adhyasa. But prameya, they say outside adhyasa. Is a very strange thing. So, pramatrutvam, pramana, prameya. That means the entire anatma is within adhyasa. This is most important. Then anatma appearing and it is imposed upon the atma, both are simultaneous. Okay. This is the most important. Okay, today's class is only this one sentence alone we discussed. And they are very important points we discussed today. Yada, now I repeat Swamiji's sentence. Yada khal vadhyasaha tada atmani adhyasa vishayata. In the adhyasa you find that atma is an object of adhyasa. That means atma becomes an object of I thought. Then anatma appears and anatma is imposed on the atma, anatma appearing and imposing on that. They are not two. Only for sake of communication we talk of two. For clarification we put them two and then one by one we say. But in Anubhava they are one. Anubhava is one. Only for sake of communication we take step by step, part by part. Anatma appearing and part of anatma is superimposed upon the aham thought and another part imposed as a you thought, as a yushmat pratyaya. A part of anatma is, that is a body, mind and sense organ comes to the subjective side, first person, and the remaining anatma goes into the second person. Okay, yushmat pratyaya vishaya. But asmat pratyaya, yushmat pratyaya vishaya, object of I thought, object of you thought are not two, because this is understood only if you understand the very perception. I think here it is not a part. Probably, I don't know, do we need to discuss it? We'll discuss sometime later if necessary comes. Otherwise it comes in avasthatraya viveka. The very process, how the perception takes place, I think everybody is confused about it. Perception takes place, nobody can prove. Mula Vidya Vadins have made a detailed process of how the perception takes place. It is ridiculous. Like in dream, whole state is a one block. Pramata, pramana, prameyam is a one block together. Subject, object and its relation is a one block. You don't know whether subject comes first or object comes first. Nobody can decide it. Therefore, perception is a mystery. It is only just as a swabhavika adhyasa, perception is also swabhavika adhyasa. By perception we mean pratyaksha pramana. Is a swabhavika adhyasa. If you try to prove, it's impossible to prove. Anyway, I only touch this much. Otherwise it takes 1 hour, again separate topic. We may discuss later if necessary, otherwise we'll leave it. For our necessary purpose, Atma, Anatma, both are adhyasa simultaneously, subject and object. Atma and Anatma, they are not two separates. Like the two sides of a paper, you can't superimpose only one side of the paper and another side will do later. Can you say that? Somebody wanted a paper, just one page only I wanted. I lifted the sheet and gave him, take this. And he says, no, I want only one page. I say, how can I give you? There is only one sheet. You take two pages are inevitable. I can't do anything. I brought one sheet And if you want one page, take it. But he says only I want one page, don't give me the 2 pages. Don't give me the 2 pages. Now how can you do that? Then there was, I am not a very intelligent person, I tell you. I am very poor. But there was somebody who was intelligent with me, more intelligent, very clever man. And he says, why Swamiji, you plead him and then appeal to him, apologize and all that. Don't do that. You tell him, I have given you 2 sheets, you take only 1 page and leave the page for me. You tell him like that. Oh my God, this is intelligent, this clever idea, I never got it. And he, yes, you take 1 page and leave the 1 page to me. Then he came to the ground and he says, okay, I'll accept the whole sheet. Therefore, once you take 1 page, the other page also part of it. Similarly, aham pratyaya vishaya, yushmat pratyaya vishaya, both are not two. Yushmat pratyaya vishaya is neither outside adhyasa nor is a second step of adhyasa. Note this. Yushmat pratyaya vishaya is neither outside adhyasa, that is anatma is neither outside adhyasa. That means it is neither before adhyasa. Okay? Yushmat pratyaya vishaya is neither before adhyasa nor it is a second step of adhyasa. Second step means they say first aham pratyaya adhyasa, then the second step is yushmat pratyaya. Asmat yushmat pratyaya, there is no sequence. Why? Once there is asmat pratyaya, there is a yushmat pratyaya, they are simultaneous, like 2 sides of a 1 page. Therefore, adhyasa means asmat pratyaya, yushmat pratyaya, entire world is adhyasa upon the Atman. If you understand this adhyasa, Atma Jnana becomes instant. Instantly you come to the Sakshi Drishti, there is no Jagat other than you. Instantly Jagat can be falsified, sublated, and you understand. The other concept of adhyasa, it keeps you even after Jnanam, the so-called Jnanam, adhyasa remains, goes on. This way, if you understand adhyasa as Swamiji presented, understanding Jnanam and eliminating adhyasa is instant and so easy. Oh, only with the help of Swamiji, first book I read is Mula Vidya Nirasa, Prakriya Pratyabhigna, Mula Vidya Nirasa. These are the 2. Sugama I read much later. Prakriya Pratyabhigna and Mula Vidya Nirasa. These 2 alone I read. They alone helped me to get his Prakriya and understand very clearly. You understand adhyasa and you also remove it. In fact, the purpose of adhyasa bhashya is not to prove adhyasa. More and more you understand adhyasa, it goes away, weans away, it gets dismissed. You understand adhyasa, the more and more you try to understand, it goes away and only Atma remains. That is the way of presenting adhyasa. Not that you try to establish adhyasa and then once you establish, you remain eternally in adhyasa only, you will never go away. Okay. So this topic is incomplete. Anyway, tada atmanyadhyasa vishayata anatmadhyasa sambandhascha ityubhayamapi samakalameva nirvatyate iti anubhavanusarena kalpyate. According to anubhava, this is how we explain, we present it. That means anubhavanusarena we present, means our presentation is true to anubhava. You also pay attention to anubhava and understand it. Okay. Na purva paribhavo kaschit. There is no purva paribhava, there is no sequence of first atmadhyasa, then anatmadhyasa. There is no sequence like that. Okay. Aham pratyaya adhyasa, then remaining anatma, is not like that. Kaschit yat punar vishayatvam anapadya. You know, another point. Okay, this point is an important point. Another point we'll discuss in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om Narayana.